Hi, I'm Gareth Green, and in this video we're going to be thinking about chord progressions, starting with chord 3. So what do I mean by chord progression? Well, it's just this notion that you have one chord followed by another, followed by another. It gives us a progression of chords. And just in case anybody's wondering, what do I mean by all these Roman numerals that are on the board? It's all very simple, really, once you get to the bottom of it. So let me just run through this quickly. We're going to work in the key of C major. So here's the scale of C major. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and then back to C again. Obviously, I can number off those notes as what we call degrees of the scale. First degree of the scale, second degree, third degree, fourth degree, fifth degree, sixth degree, seventh degree, back to the first degree. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, back to 1. When we're doing chords, we tend to label them using Roman numerals. So if I have a chord 1 as a Roman numeral, it's going to be based on the first degree of the scale. So C major, the first degree of the scale is C. And to make a chord, I use that which is what we call the root note, the bottom of a chord, and I add a third and a fifth. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's a root, a third, and a fifth. So C, E, G is chord 1 in the key of C major. So if I do the same thing on the second degree D, I get D, F, A. So that's chord 2, E, G, B is chord 3, F, A, C is chord 4, G, B, D is chord 5, A, C, E is chord 6, B, D, F is chord 7, and then I come back to C, E, G, which is why that's chord 1 and not chord 8. So what we're doing in this video is starting with chord 3. Now, it's a very interesting chord because it's often a chord that people avoid. We have in our system of chords things that we call primary chords. So 1, 4, and 5 are the primary chords. Things like 2, 3, and 6 are the secondary chords. So we're probably going to use more primary chords than secondary chords, as the title suggests. And of the secondary chords, well, 3 is often regarded as the weakest, or the one that we're least likely to use. So lots of people avoid chord 3 like the plague because somebody told them that it's a slightly dodgy thing to do. Well, hopefully by the end of this video, you'll see at least 15 possibilities for starting with chord 3 and progressing to 2 other chords that would follow on quite nicely from them. So we're going to work through these. Just before I do, if chord 3 is E, G, B, that's the triad, of course if I want to make 4 notes in my chord, I just need to double one of those notes. So I could put another E in the bass, so I've got 2 E's, a G and a B. I could have lots of notes in a chord, but you notice I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 notes, but all those notes are E's, G's and B's, so they still all belong to chord 3. So you can have as many parts in a chord as you want to, but it's all based on the notes of that triad. Okay, so here is option number 1. Starting with chord 3, I can then go to 1 and then to 5. What does that sound like? So here's 3, a 1, 5. Actually sounds quite good, doesn't it? So why would you not want to use that, really? Perfectly reasonable. Option number 2, 3 going to 1 and then to 2. So maybe 3 and then 1 and 2. And now you might think, well, it sounds all right, but it doesn't sound like the end of something. It doesn't have to be the end of something. It could be the start of a phrase or the middle of a phrase. Or you might think, well, it sort of wants to go somewhere else afterwards. Well, it probably does. How about this? If I use option number 2, I go 3 to 1 to 2, and then maybe I go 5, 1. Or maybe I do my 3, 1, 2, and then I go 5 to 6. And actually, those two options give you a nice kind of 5-chord progression. So if you're not convinced by 3-1-2, well, think about 3-1-2 followed by 5-1 or 5-6. Okay, option number 3, 3-1-4. So here's 3 to 1 to 4. Okay, does that work on its own? Well, yes. And then you might think, well, again, it wants something stuck on the end of it. So why not go 5-1 again? Or 3-1-4 and then 5-6 would flow on as well quite nicely. You can see I'm starting with progressions that go from chord 3 to chord 1. It's quite a good progression in the sense of this, that in chord 3, 2 of the notes are E and G, and in chord 1, 2 of the notes are E and G. So they're what we call common notes. They appear in chord 3 and they appear in chord 1. So where you've got common notes, that kind of works quite nicely as a kind of blending from one chord to the next. So that's why we're exploring progressions that have 1 after the 3. Okay, option 4 is 3 to 1 to 6. So 3 to 1 to 6. And then it might go on, say 2 to 5. So 3, 1, 6, 2, 5. Quite a nice progression, isn't it? So hopefully you're beginning to see why 3 actually is a more useful chord than some people would make us believe. Okay, option number 5, 3 to 2 to 5. So 3 to 2 to 5. There are lots of textbooks that advise us against certain progressions. They might say, oh, 3 to 2 is not a very good progression. They often don't explain why. Well, there's a danger in going 3 to 2. If I do this, 3 to 2, with all the parts moving in the same direction, I get what we call parallel octaves or consecutive octaves and parallel fifths or consecutive fifths. So as long as I'm careful that if I'm going to go something like 3 to 2, where the bass is just moving down a note like that, that the other notes maybe go in the opposite direction, what we call contrary motion, then I won't get those parallels or those consecutives. And it sounds quite nice. And you've got a little bit of a melodic shape as well, haven't you? So I think that works quite nicely. Okay, option number 6 is 3 to 2 to 6. So 3 to 2 to 6. That's quite a nice progression as well, I think. Okay, what about option number 7 is going 3 to 4 to 5. So 3 to 4 to 5. What's quite handy about that one is the bass going by step. 3, 4, 5. Again, don't get parallels with the other parts. Go in contrary motion. So if the bass is coming up, the top line could come down. And then you avoid all that parallel movement. Okay, option number 8, 3 to 4 to 6. So 3 to 4 to 6. I think that one works quite well. Option number 9, 3 to 4 to 2. So 3 to 4 to 2. Now you might think, is that convincing? Well, it might be if it goes on. So 3 to 4 to 2 to 5 to 1 is quite a nice way of doing it, isn't it? Or 3 to 4 to 2 to 3 to 1. Then 2, then 5. You see, some of these work even better in a slightly bigger context. So those are some options there. Option 10, 3 to 4 to 1. Quite a strong move because you get a cadence going from 4 to 1. So 3 to 4 to 1 goes quite nicely. What about number 11? That's giving you another cadence, 3 to 5 to 1. Again, it's another strong one in a way because in chord 3 you've got a G and a B. In chord 5 you've got a G and a B. So you've got 2 common notes going from 3 to 5. And if you can repeat those common notes in the same parts, that gives you even more stability. Okay, option 12 is 3 to 5 to 6. So 3, 5, 6. Option 13, 3 to 5 to 2. So 3, 5, 2. That goes quite nicely. Option 14, 3 to 6 to 5. 3, 6, 5. And then option 15, 3 to 6 to 4. So there's 3, 6, 4. Again, may not sound terribly complete, but you can always bolt on. So 3 to 6 to 4 to 5 to 1, or 3 to 6 to 4 to 5 to 6. So there we are. I'm hoping that this makes some people feel a bit braver about using chord 3. So if you're one of the people who've kind of been brought into this idea that chord 3 is something we want to avoid like the plague, well, those are 15 possible progressions that start with chord 3 and move on to 2 other chords that are pretty convincing. Depends on the style of the music that you want to create, what character you're trying to create. I mean, lots of other factors combine with the chord progressions as well. But sometimes people just tell me I'm just stuck with the same old chord progressions and I need some fresh thinking. Well, here's a bit of fresh thinking. How often do you use chord 3? And if you were brave enough to use it, well, how might you use it? So 15 options for using chord 3 and how you might progress from it. So I hope that's something that's useful and maybe opens a few new possibilities for you. And if you found this a helpful video, well, you might want to go to www.mmcourses.co.uk and investigate other things that Music Matters can offer. Because apart from all the videos we've got on the YouTube channel, we've also got online courses on that website in theory, harmony, barcaroles, analysis, orchestration, heaps of stuff that would be helpful resources for musicians. And those are progressive online courses that once you've obtained them, you keep for life. So you might want to have a look at that. And while you're on the website, you might also want to click on Maestros on the home page, and that will tell you all about our Music Matters Maestros group. And there are lots of great advantages in being a maestro. I mean, you get loyalty badges and emoji. You can support the channel. You have access to behind the scenes content, all sorts of things. And also you get discounts on our courses. And by kind of getting involved in Maestros, you also have access to the monthly live streams we offer. And they're full of exciting content that people find very helpful, and also a great way to meet other musicians from across the world. So they're very exciting monthly gatherings that we have. Anyway, www.mmcourses.co.uk if you want to find out more.